Don't compromise, just use your eyes. Take a look inside the millennial mind. Millennial mind.
Welcome to the Millennial Mind. You might call us lazy and entitled, but it's time that you out there start to understand the millennial generation and break free of those negative stereotypes. Get the knowledge you need to attract, retain, and engage the millennial generation to take them from entitled to engaged. So that's what it's all about. How do you turn millennials into the engaged, stellar part of your workforce? And who better to tell you this than two millennials themselves, hitting you up with the knowledge you need. I'm Garrett Wagner, your entrepreneurial CPA channel host, and I'm joined by the man. I'm just going to say the man today. Keep it short, to the point. Drew Carrick, the rapping CPA. So today, we thought we'd talk about how do you get your millennials engaged in your company, how do you attract them there, and how do you help them be powerful remote workers? So you can win on both sides. You can attract more talent, and you can leverage remote gig workers. So Drew, how do they get kick-started with remote workers?
Well, there's, as a millennial, my natural inclination is to just say, let everybody work remotely. But, you really actually have to take a step back and see, is it plausible for my business to have a remote workforce? And if so, what's the ideal way to enable it and to have the employees be able to do that? And
okay, so Drew, to clarify then, step one is not like close the office down and go 100% remote like today.
No, I wouldn't be opposed, but it might not be the smartest business move.
Okay, we're going so baby step it. We're going some baby steps here.
Yeah. So pros and cons, of course, but it's about knowing the industry. So with say, let's talk about audit, for example, from one of the things that I personally had experience with. You can do most everything on your laptop. We didn't have desktops. It was all laptops. We have VPN access. So you can work from home. You can work from the office. You can work from the client. So plenty of options. But there's some things you can't simply replace. A lot of support you can get scanned in, but I don't think you can necessarily replace an interview that you have in person in a conversation with somebody just from a phone call, because you kind of have to read, who is it that you're dealing with. And consulting is the same sort of way. Of course, now it's enabled even better with Skype and FaceTime and different ways to communicate, but nothing really beats that sort of in-person meeting. So there are situations you have to understand where you do need to go and be a physical presence. But I think setting guidelines and setting boundaries and having a mutual understanding, employee and employer, about when it's appropriate to work remotely. If there's certain busy times when you really need everybody together and everyone needs to be in a centralized location, then obviously not the time to work remotely. But if there's most of the week where you're just kind of doing a task that you're able to do just with your laptop and your computer, there's no reason why you should have to force somebody to be in a certain location if they could be optimal in productivity working elsewhere.
Yeah. I think that key part is like optimal productivity. So for me, I work from home almost all the time. I love it. But to do that, I've got a dedicated space just for work, a dedicated workstation with the right setup so I can work just as well in the office. I've got, you can't see this right now, but I've got 3 24-inch monitors, desk, keyboard and mouse, the laptop. Everything that I need to work is here. There is no I see a lot of people, they work from home and they've got their laptop on the couch watching TV, taking on the keyboard. It's like, that does not count. That is not legit work from home. You want to make sure they get set up correctly working from home. That it's got to be a legit space where they can work. Because nowadays, everything, Drew, you're on point, is multiple monitors. You can't do everything with just one laptop, one monitor. You've got to have multiple pieces there. So get them set up right. It's part of your IT cost. It doesn't cost much for a couple monitors and a monitor stand to say, here you go, work from home. Even if you start, one of the easy ways to start, we talk about baby steps, let people work from home at night. A couple hours a day, get their feet wet, get them working into it. And I also think, Drew, you hit a very important part. When they work from home, communication becomes so critical. Because when you're there in person, you can have those informal, like water cooler conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So Drew, how can they engage these people remotely and build those communications and do that when they're not seeing them by the water cooler? How do they communicate with people virtually?
So there's a lot of ways, and I was just, amazed by the whole, story. I was really getting engaged with the whole story that you were telling with the monitors and everything, because for me, that's such an important key.
Oh yeah.
Having, for me, I have 4 monitors at work, and I have a laptop, and I'm the same way where, working from bed is never going to be as productive as working, upright, where well, for most people, I would say. Upright, and you have all these different monitors where I have email up on one, Excel up on another, internet up on another. And so having all those, readily available, it increases my productivity, and it doesn't matter necessarily if I'm in the office per se, or if I have a dedicated workspace like you were saying. So having that sort of workstation to go is so important. And if you're looking to create this remote workforce, like you said, in the small bit of investment in those sort of IT setup sort of costs will go a long way in increasing the productivity at home. And as far as communication goes, it's having that understanding from when you're in the office and seeing if there's a way to translate that to being at home. And, there's every business almost has Skype for Outlook. You're constantly linking. You're always having these casual text conversations like you would with anybody on your phone, but you're now able to have them on your computer. So that's definitely one way, and utilizing FaceTime as much as possible, so that you can have face-to-face conversations, which are, so much more productive than just talking to somebody on the phone. You're not sure if they're paying attention to you. You're not sure if they're looking at you. Those are the cons that come with working remotely, especially if it's just audio. You could be on the phone and you're just on mute the whole time, and then they're just, oh, yeah, that's good. And then it keeps kind of going. So there's definitely a lot of shortfalls that come with it, but I think technology is improving and enabling better communication from all locations at a rate which will enable more and more businesses to turn towards a remote workforce.
Exactly. So the technology is there. Start with small steps. Make sure the technology is set up right so they can work the right way at home. And another big benefit of remote workers, we talked about how do we retain our people. That's a big challenge nowadays. Well, if they're going to work someplace else, you can now retain them. They can work for you remotely full time because you've already got through the baby steps. You've already kind of learned the process. You've got the setup. You've understand the IT standpoint. Keep that people when they move across the country, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that it's allowing people to move wherever they want to now. They're not indebted to a certain location, where this is where my job is, so this is where I have to live. I know I really love to live somewhere else, but you have this sort of balance where you're trying to be like, well, what do I value more? What do I care about? If you're able to, and then you can come back, to have those in-person meetings once in a while, then maybe that's the ideal sort of setup that you're able to kind of work. Obviously, to a certain level of leadership and face presence that needs to be required at those different levels. And it's also just even being able to work by avoiding the commute. Millennials value time so much, and to not have to deal with that commute, or even if I can work from home for half the day and then come in when it's off-peak hours and then go home when it's off-peak hours, that makes a huge difference to so many millennials, me especially. And I appreciate that so much, being able to come in, after the traffic subsided and then stay until after the traffic's over and then go home. And I think you'll find as an employer that your employees could be more productive and more willing to work more because they don't have to spend that time, dreading that commute and getting drained through this process.
I absolutely love the fact that I don't have a commute. My commute is to walk from the kitchen to my office, which is like 10 seconds. And I love that fact. If I have to go someplace in town for a meeting, I'm like, oh my God, it goes an hour of my day just down the drain. I don't leave the house. So that's what it's about. Boom, look at the watch. Get those remote workers started today. Attract, retain, and engage the millennials by understanding how to work remotely with your team. As always, you want some help, hit us up. We're always here to chip in some thought. And as you know, if you got your own thoughts and opinions on Millennial Minds, I don't care what your age is, take part in our survey. We've got tons of responses. We want to get more so we can start talking to you about what the results we see on future episodes. Well, that's it for this episode, everyone. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, click to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, we challenge you today to take action to change the world and invest in yourself.